Well, guys, after 2 years, The X-Files has returned with a premiere that complicates things even more than it already did. Hey guys, it's Cameron for the season premiere of The X-Files, Season 11, Episode 1, My Struggle Part 3, and to be honest with you, I'm surprised the show is even back. I thought for sure, after how divisive Season 10 really was, that there was no chance they were going to make another season, but I guess because of some really good fan reception towards some of the episodes, they decided to bring it back, and, I was very conflicted with how to feel about it. You guys know some of season 10 I really did enjoy. I thought there were some episodes that were definitely very strong, but some of the episodes, particularly the mythology ones, were really not that great, especially the last one. I pretty much hated the last episode of season 10, and yeah, so needless to say, I was not really looking forward to this season. And yeah, this did not make things better, honestly. I was not really a fan of this premiere at all. There were some things that were good. I definitely will say that. There were some things I definitely did enjoy. This wasn't a horrible episode, but there were some things that did legitimately piss me off, and it's like barely an improvement, I think, over the premiere was over the finale of season 10. So we're just gonna get into it because I do want to talk about where we're headed. Just keep in mind that X-Files, people have said this before, and I'm going to agree. Even though I've only seen one season of the show, from what I've gathered, the X-Files is much better as a Monster of the Week show than it is at mythology episodes, and you definitely can tell that here, but we're just going to get into it. So we start off and we get this monologue from the smoking man, and unlike Scully's kind of pointless monologue in the season 10 finale, I thought this was really necessary. There's a lot of stuff we didn't know about him, and he's talking about his history with the U.S. government, reveals his name is Carl Gerhard Bush. He explains that he's seen what goes on behind the scenes and that people wouldn't understand the truth, and he confirms that he is indeed the father to both Mulder and Jeffrey Spender, which this is apparently not that big of a deal. We've known this for a while now. I guess it's just the first time the show is actually confirming it, and he then says he's going to leave his mark on history and prove to his sons that he was right all along, and we see there's old footage from the moon landing, zooms out to reveal a movie set. So yes, basically, the show's trying to say that all of this was just a ruse, it wasn't true, that he was just behind the staging of the events, and that there was actually no moon landing, which, I mean, people have thought of that for years, and I did think that was kind of cool the way that started out here, and I did really like that monologue overall. But we then see Scully, she's sitting in a computer, thinks back to the night when she looked up into the beam of light coming from the UFO, and suddenly she's on the ground. We see she's passed out from that, and she's with Mulder and a paramedic. They're standing over her. She's taken in for treatment for a seizure, and both Mulder and Skinner fall to the ambulance, and the doctor says that Scully has extremely abnormal activity in her brain. They all look at her brain activity charts, and Skinner observes that there's a code hidden within her brainwaves saying to find him. And of course, we know find him, that is alluding to William. And this part I was legitimately happy about. You guys know one of my biggest complaints in the finale is that she didn't just go and look for William. I understand she had a job to attend to. People did kind of get upset at me for saying that, but it didn't matter. The whole season was setting up them reuniting with William, and the fact that she didn't go look for him, that did piss me off here. So I did like that this episode improved in her wanting to find him, and I do like that is definitely a more prominent narrative moving forward. So Mulder goes into Scully's room to see how she's doing. Skinner's trying to convince that the signal in Scully's brain is telling him to find William, though Mulder doesn't really believe him for some reason, which I did not understand why Mulder would not believe that. I mean, who else would it be? Like, if it's not William, who else would it be, Mulder? I don't understand why he didn't believe Skinner, but Mulder tells Skinner to go look for answers, but he's going to stay at Scully's side, and a lot is happening in Scully's brain, and it turns out everything that we saw with the virus outbreak, yeah, that didn't actually happen. That was all in Scully's head. Yeah, so if you guys are keeping up to date here, everything we saw in that finale did not actually happen. That was all some sort of projection into Scully's mind. And look, I get that, they were trying to show that Scully's paranoid or whatever, but this is like the easiest way out, really, it was. I mean, the only reason I think they retconned this is because people really weren't fans of the way it ended and that they needed to find a way to keep the story going. I mean, I honestly don't know why they did this. I mean, they threw so much at us in that finale. There was so much information there. It was happening so quickly, and it didn't feel like a finale at all. And the fact that most of it was just in her brain just really overcomplicated things, because what I'm confused about is what was real and what wasn't. I mean, the episode doesn't really tell us that. So she tells him he has to find the smoking man, talks about the Spartan virus that spreads across the world. It doesn't seem like the Spartan virus has actually happened, which, again, is just so stupid and just really frustrating, honestly, that they did that. And Mulder assures Scully that he's actually not dying, so it appears that whole run-in he had with the smoking man actually never happened, and that there is now plague. And Scully then says that the smoking man's alive, that he's in Spartanburg, South Carolina. She tells Mulder to find the smoking man and stop him before he's killed. It's clear that Mulder doesn't entirely believe her, and again, he's very much thinking that this is just in her mind and that she isn't thinking rationally. And I do like that they're sticking with this narrative that Mulder is a little more hesitant while Scully is the one who's more on board, because, again, it does give them a bit of a role reversal in terms of the narrative. I mean, I remember in the original show, Mulder, at least from what I've heard, Mulder was always the one who was into the paranormal while Scully was a skeptic, and they've now flipped it around, and that's something I definitely did enjoy seeing here. And you can make the argument that the entire last episode was all Scully's perspective, so maybe that's why it was that way. But again, it just kind of seemed like they were retconning things, and I really wasn't a fan of that at all. But we then see Jeffrey Spender. He's in a parking garage. He's chased down by a man in a car. The man keeps telling Jeffrey that he only wants the boy, and Spender escapes, very worried, knowing that William is very much in danger. But Scully's trying to convince the doctor that her visions are real. The doctor says that there's a chance her visions could have actually been brought on by something real. They're not real, but they definitely could have been brought on by something. She wants to leave to try and find the smoking man, but Mulder makes her stay put. He will track down the man, and as he exits the hospital, he gets multiple messages from Spender, and Scully lies in bed having more visions of the virus. One of the visions shows Mulder in a car accident, and I don't know if this is alluding to the fact that this is actually going to happen, but honestly, I don't even know. I don't know what these visions mean. I don't know if it's something that's going to happen in the foreseeable future. I don't know if this is something they should be worried about. The show, again, I get it that we can infer things. I get it that we can draw conclusions, but the show doesn't give us enough information to draw conclusions. The show doesn't give us enough to really, give any sort of context in anything, and that's really what bothered me about this episode. So Mulder listens to a message from Spender. He's told that someone is coming for his son, William, and the smoking man's listening to a conversation. He says that Mulder will soon be coming after him. He's talking to Reyes, who stands by his side and lights a cigarette, and a mysterious driver then takes off down the road, trailing Mulder, and the smoking man warns that he is not to be found. So Mulder isn't driving down the road. He's trying to make sense of Scully's visions. He wants to believe that they're not actually true. You can tell, but there is definitely a chance that they very well could be. I mean, the smoking man is very much out there. William is very much, alive, and he realizes that he is in fact being followed. So the smoking man talks to Reyes of his plans to get rid of Mulder, and a car chase then breaks out between Mulder and the mystery driver, which ends with the latter being hit at an intersection. He takes back off after Mulder, but the X-Files agent was hidden in an alley, and Scully has more visions over her son. She wakes up to see Spender staying at her bed. He warns Scully that someone is coming for her son, and she asks him to break his promise and tell her where he's hidden, and he gives her the name Van de Kamp, the last name of the couple who adopted her son. So Scully then tries to leave the hospital, knowing that William's very much in danger. She needs to get to him ASAP. I mean, this isn't like, I gotta wait till I get out of this hospital. No, something could happen to him in any second now. So the smoking man is trying to figure out who is going after Mulder and Scully's son. He admits that the boy is his weakness, and Mulder then reaches South Carolina by following the other driver, thinks that Scully's visions might have actually been right. There might actually be a chance there. And Scully then calls him, talks about Spender's visit. She's escaped the hospital, tells Mulder he needs to find William, and more visions come to Scully along with a massive headache. She drops to her knees, and Scully's then unconscious on the floor of Mulder's office. The smoking man then tells Reyes that the people he's killing are just about cleaning out the mess. He hints at the secret bond between he and William, and there's clearly some sort of a connection there. So he then says that he worries for Scully, but that he needs to be sure to find William first. So he and Reyes then tease they're going to try and stop Mulder at any cost, and Mulder follows the driver to the driveway of the mansion. He peers inside to see a man smoking a cigarette, and he sneaks around the property until he finds a way inside. When he gets to the parlor, he finds that the man smoking the cigarette is a different one than we were expecting. And remember, the whole thing between Mulder and Smoking Man never happened, so he technically doesn't really know of his real identity. So Erica Prince is standing in the room as well. Skinner goes to the office, but Scully's nowhere to be found. Her phone, however, was left behind. Scully then drives away, but she's having trouble seeing things. Skinner then gets in his car where Reyes is waiting for him. The smoking man joins them in the front seat. Scully's visions get the best of her, and she gets into this horrible car accident, and bystanders then helping her out of their car. Meanwhile, Mulder questions the man in the parlor, who tells him the smoking man was there not long ago. Neither party seems to know where he really is now, so the man explains he was part of the syndicate with Mulder's father, who we know is the smoking man, and he then introduces Erica as his associate. She interrupts and says that the smoking man's looking to exterminate humanity and basically just get rid of everyone. That's essentially what he's trying to do. And the smoking man's then trying to offer Skinner a deal. He pulls the virus out of his pocket, explains what's happening to Skinner, and at the same time, Erica explains that same plan to Mulder, calling it the end of history. So it seems like the virus is actually going to happen. Like, this definitely is a legitimate thing. But again, I don't know why they showed us this if it was all just in Scully's head. Why did you need to show that the virus is going to happen? Why couldn't this have, why couldn't you just sprinkled things? Why this have to be, why do you have to show this as if it was actually happening and not just we knew was in Scully's head the entire time? I mean, they could have easily been something like, oh, this is just her thinking about the foreseeable future, thinking about what could actually happen. It just would have made things a lot easier, and they just really overcomplicate things, and that's something that, again, really did bother me here. So the smoking man offers Skinner immunity from the virus if he can locate William, and Erica explains the syndicate used to want to save humanity, but the smoking man flipped on them once the aliens arrive, and the smoking man spins a different story for Skinner, saying the aliens brought the seeds of humanity's destruction. He says that the world is in its last stage of survival, and a select few already have the blood needed to survive the end. So Erica and the man reveal to Mulder that if they can stop the smoking man, they can begin colonizing space. So Mulder doesn't believe them. They say that they can that only a select few can go, just like Smoking Man says only a select few can survive on Earth. So basically, they have to get someone to space. They have to get just a few people there. And Mulder's convinced that Scully can still save humanity. So in the parking garage, the smoking man and Reyes were ready to leave, but Skinner told them that he wasn't finished yet. Mulder then speeds down the road, calling Skinner. He doesn't answer because the smoking man is still in the car trying to persuade him. Skinner asks why they want the boy so bad, and Scully's in the hospital recovering. Two FBI agents show up. Both Miller and Einstein are there to see her. They tell the doctors that they're the ones who found Scully. They brought her in because the medical band on her wrist. And again, everything went down with Miller and Einstein never happened, which I'm not upset about because I really was not a fan of Einstein in the last episode, you guys know. But the doctors then call Mulder to tell him, and as Einstein and Miller leave, a mysterious man brushes by them, heads into Scully's room. It's the driver that was chasing Mulder. He draws the curtain close in her room, puts a pillow on her face, trying to suffocate her. Scully then fights back, with the man grabs a hold of her throat. Just when she's about to stop breathing, Mulder enters, kills the man, realizes that there are two different sides of the truth that they are trapped between, which this just really confused me. Like, why are there two different sides? What's really going on here? Mulder tells Scully that he knew the man tried to kill her. She tells him that she's aware he wasn't sent by the smoking man. She knows the smoking man would never hurt her, and Mulder then says that Scully's visions are in fact correct. She says they're being sent to her by William. She also assures Mulder that the smoking man won't act until he has William, and Here's the thing. The show's treating this like a big deal, but I'm pretty sure we knew from the get-go that what Scully saw was eventually going to happen. I mean, the show wouldn't just completely retcon that. I mean, at least I don't think they would. I honestly don't know the show anymore, but the plan is to wait and then continue working on the truth in the X-Files until William can come. They find them, and Skinner then arrives and tells Moore that he never got his call. When the two confront one another, Skinner wants to drop the conversation, and Mulder says that he smells like smoke. So we then flash back to the car and we realize what's actually going on. And we get probably the most controversial twist of this entire episode, where the smoking man's explaining why he wants to save Scully, because it all goes back, way back to the very beginning of her time with the X-Files, where he reveals that in that time he is the one who impregnated her with alien DNA to create the first superhuman the world has ever seen. Mulder isn't the father, William. The smoking man apparently is. So yeah, that's what's going on here. We then see William. He's shaking with an incredible amount of pain, and that is the way this episode ends. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to get into here. First of all, let's talk about this big twist. We have to address the elephant in the room. Do I hate this twist? No, I don't necessarily hate it, but I don't understand it. I don't understand why all this time they led us to believe that Mulder and Scully's son was their son. I don't know why they did that. Why are we all of a sudden just having the smoking man? And I understand Chris Carter's had this planned for 18 years. I totally get that. But why now? Like, why now are we getting this reveal? Why didn't this happen, like, much earlier in the show? I don't understand why now we're getting this. It's really come out of left field, and especially in the premiere, something like this, especially because we know that the next few episodes are just going to be Monster of the Week episodes, and they're not really going to talk about this very much at all. It's really going to piss me off. And I understand that this show is a certain way of doing things. They only have some mythology episodes, but this just really overcomplicated things. I get what the smoking man's connection to William is, but we didn't need for him to be William's father. They could have easily had it where maybe he saw some sort of potential in William, or he wanted to take William under his wing. Why did we need to make William the son of the smoking man? I just don't really get it, because now the whole narrative of Mulder and Scully doesn't really make a ton of sense. It seemed like William was going to be the thing that brought these two together, but now it doesn't seem like that's the case. And yeah, so I don't know why they went this direction, honestly. It just seems like they did it just for shock value. Again, I understand this is something that Chris Carter has had planned, but it's one of those things where, you know, you might get an idea, but you don't necessarily need to do it. It might not translate as well as it does in your head, and I think this is a perfect example of that. The whole show has been leading us to believe that this has been Mulder and Scully's son, and now apparently that's not the case, and I don't know. I'm very conflicted with this twist. I don't really know how I feel about it. What I definitely am not a fan of is this whole, everything in that last episode, yeah, that was all a dream. That was all a vision that Scully had. As much as I wasn't a fan of that episode, I've always said this before. If you start something in your show, you have to finish it. You have to. I mean, it's something that you started. It's something that people want to see a conclusion to. And Chris Carter instead just pussied out and said, it was just a vision by Scully. That we know is going to happen because the Smoky Man does have the virus. And he does want to basically destroy humanity completely. We do very much understand that. My question is, why did we even introduce that into the story if you knew it was going to happen? Unless it was just a vision projected by Scully, which, as we saw, that's not the case. It very much is going to happen. It seems she has this way of, like, predicting the future. I don't know how she's psychic or whatever, but it seems like that's the case. Scully very much is able to predict what's going to happen, and I just don't like it. I don't like that they made that a vision. I think it was a really dumb decision on their part, and it just doesn't make much sense at all. So I don't really know why they went in that direction, especially because, again, it's not because the fact that I don't think it's cool. I do think it's kind of cool because, again, it wasn't Scully's perspective, and they misled us in that way. But the fact that they are introducing it out of the story, that's really what pisses me off here, and that's what's so bizarre about it. I mean, that is going to happen. It's not just something that was in Scully's head that the Smoky Man just did the fuck with her. I thought that's really what was going on, but that's not the case at all, and I really don't get it. I really don't get it. I also don't get why Mulder wouldn't want to look for William. I mean, this is your son, at least to his knowledge. It is your son that we're talking about. He could have been put in grave danger, and for some reason you didn't want to look for him. You didn't want to believe that the smoking man was talking about William. I didn't understand this at all. Why didn't Mulder believe Scully? I guess just for time constraints? I don't know. I don't know why he didn't believe Scully in that sense. It did not work for me at all. I don't know why they're going in that direction. So yeah, that definitely did piss me off quite a bit. So yeah, I don't know how to feel about this premiere, to be honest with you. I don't know how to really feel about it. I don't know. I didn't hate it. I'll say that. I think there were some cool things introduced here. It definitely was better than the finale, but it was very similar to the finale in that we got so much information all at once that it's very hard to digest it all. And again, we know they're probably not going to go back to this till the latter half of the season because that's how the X-Files does things. And I'm fine with the Monster of the Week episodes. I usually really enjoy those episodes. But the problem is when you start something, people, who aren't aware of the formula, which there might be some people who are very much aware of that, they might want an answer, and they want those answers right now. And this is a show where, they've given us so many things to process, and I just don't know how this is really going to wrap up, and I don't think it attributes to the fact that they were trying to retcon the events of the finale. I think it all just stems back to the fact that Chris Carter has admitted he doesn't know how to end this show. He doesn't really have an ending in sight. It just kind of seems like he's coming up with whatever shit he could possibly think of, and I mean, it's intriguing. It's intriguing to see what else he could really do, but he's kind of destroying his own show, and especially the fact that Gillian Anderson is leaving after this season. If this really is going to be her swan song, this is the final season, I really hope they close it out right. I mean, Scully and Mulder are very beloved characters. Everyone really does love those characters, and if Scully really is bowing out after the season, which probably means this is the final season of the show, I'm hoping, unlike season 10, we actually get that conclusion that we wanted, but based on this premiere, that's less and less likely to happen, so I don't know how that's really going to go. Overall, guys, like I said, don't really know how to feel about this premiere overall. There's a lot of things there's some things I liked. The acting, I still think, was very strong. The Smoking Man is very intimidating as a villain. There was some interesting stuff with him here, but they introduced so many things that I'm still really having a hard time digesting it all. I know I didn't like it. I know it definitely wasn't a good episode, and I just don't really know how to feel about it. So when really thinking about it, I am going to give the season premiere of The X-Files, Season 11, Episode 1, My Struggle Part 3, a C. So over, guys, premiere the season premiere of The X-Files. Most guys saw this episode overall, left your thoughts. I know this episode was extremely polarizing. Some people really enjoyed it. Most people seemed like they really hated it. But I'm definitely interested in hearing your thoughts on it. Like I said, I'm still trying to process it all. I don't really know how to feel about some of these revelations, but that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in my next video. I am happy that we have a longer season this year. I definitely will say that. I think that was definitely one of the bigger problems with season 10. But this is my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.